All right, so welcome. Uh, this is our second ever AA technology sharing session. And the idea for these sharing sessions came out of conversations I had with some of you at the most recent National AA Technology Workshop. There was a common feeling that we needed more frequent opportunities to get together and share our experience than just once a year. So these monthly sessions are an attempt to meet that need. The sessions will always be the last Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time. Today's session is going to have three 15-minute presentations on Google Workspace administration. And these sharing sessions and the format are an experiment. Well, and I actually just jumped over. So after the three presentations, we'll have time for questions and sharing. And so we're not going to stop after each presentation. So if you have thoughts or questions, make sure you write them down so you don't forget. And we'll finish at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. So as I was saying, these sharing sessions and the format are an experiment. This is only the second time. So please provide your feedback at the end. There'll be a link to a survey that I'll put in the chat. And if you'd like to help guide this experiment to hopefully become a long-term sustainable service project, and this is where I'm going to copy and paste something into the chat. We're having our first ever steering committee meeting a week from today. Let me find the chat here. So it's going to be next Tuesday, March 5th, same time, during 4 p.m. Pacific time, and we'll use the exact same Zoom info that we're using right now. And you'll have a chance to, give input if you have ideas for how to make the format better or whatever. But the most important thing is I'm looking for people who will volunteer to chair 1 month session. So like today, I picked a topic, I found some speakers, and I'm reading the format and facilitating the meeting. I would like to not have to do that every month. In fact, there's no way I can sustain that. So with all of us together, though, I'm sure we can, fill 12 of these a year. That shouldn't be a problem if we all work together. So hope to see you guys next Tuesday if you're available. And if you can't make that steering committee meeting, but you'd like to chair a month, just reach out to me. There will be a bunch of links that I'm going to put in the chat throughout the day, or our presenters might put in the chat. And so you don't have to worry about collecting them all. Just like last month, if you were here, I've created a Google document. So all the links that get shared are either in there already, or I'll add them as they come. So you can just, save that link and not worry about collecting all the links. And the last thing I want to share before we begin our presentations is to please consider these sharing sessions just a learning group. Very few of us here are experts in technology. I'm certainly not. And we're just AA members that made ourselves available to help with our local websites or whatever tech, situation we're in. And because of that, we now have some experience to share with you all. So with that in mind, we'll get into our topic, which is Google Workspace Administration. Before our first presenter, I'll just give a little intro. So according to Wikipedia, Google Workspace is a collection of cloud computing, productivity, and collaboration tools, software, and products developed and marketed by Google. So it includes things like Gmail, like a Google account, as well as you may have heard of Google Docs and Google Sheets and Google Slides, which is Google's version of Microsoft Office. It includes all that and a whole lot more. Most AA entities are primarily going to use it for creating email accounts for all your trusted servants. but there really is so much more to it, and we'll only scratch the surface of all those tools today. Our focus is actually specifically the behind the scenes administration of Google Workspace. So if you're like myself, you end up being a web servant and they say, we also have Google Workspace and you get to administer that. Today, we'll teach you a little bit about that process of administering the workspace. And any business or organization can purchase Google Workspace, but it does cost $6 per user per month. And that's not going to be affordable for AA service organizations. The good news is that if your AA service entity is registered as a 501c3 nonprofit with the IRS, which is a whole other issue, how to do that, which we won't get into details today. But if you are registered, then you get Google Workspace for free. And that's why many AA service entities do use Google Workspace, because it is free if you're a 501c3 nonprofit. And so our first presenter, Robin, is a web trusted servant out of Area 6, District 8, which is Contra Costa County, Northern California. I don't know if I said that right. Robin is going to share about Google Workspace setup and just administration basics. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Robin.
Thanks, Jacob. Yeah, I'm just going to cover a few of my favorite tips that I find useful for using Google Workspace as admin. Because there's so many settings and there's a million things that could be covered on it. But hi, I'm Robin, I'm alcoholic. Thank you, Jacob, for starting this tech sharing thing. I love this. So I'll just share my screen. I did a little presentation to kind of keep me focused. So maybe you guys can let me know if you see the screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, cool. And maybe I'll do a slideshow, see if that works. Okay, so Google Workspace basics for AA. Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm 1 year sober, and service has kept me sober this year big time. How I got involved in service in AA was my first week. I was trying to find meetings, and our local site was hacked, and it was redirecting periodically to porn sites. And that was very distracting and off-putting when I was trying to find a meeting and really needed a meeting in my first week. But that's what got me involved right away, because I knew how to fix that. And I've been a website consultant for 8 years. So I got in touch with the local web servant and we fixed the site together, and that's kept me in service ever since. And it's also really kept me sober. One of the first questions you want to ask before going down the Google Workspace route is, do you even want to use that? Is it appropriate for your local group? There's definitely pros and cons to it, and Jacob touched on a few of them. Also, I didn't set a timer, Jacob. I don't know where I'm at. I'm just gonna start it now. And you can just, if you don't mind letting me know when I'm like 2 minutes out, that'd be great. Yeah, the pros of having Google Workspace is you can kind of create a branding. So, for example, I volunteer with Code for Recovery, and they do the 12-step meeting list plugin. And our domain for that is codeforrecovery.org. So that's like building branding on that name. And with that, we were able to create an organization, and they have set up themselves as a 501c3. And so there's a lot of documents that go along with that, and a great place to store that is on Google Drive. And that's a great way to protect lots of documents. And as the people come and go on the organization, all the documents can stay in one spot and not on people's personal computers. So it can be up in the cloud. One of the biggest benefits to Google Workspace that I see is that it's a great way to manage users. So yeah, if you're using personal emails, you can't really manage it. It's hard to transfer stuff, or can be, or if you lose track of them, then it's hard to transfer that. But so the cons to Google Workspace, so you have to have a domain. That's a yearly payment. And someone's name needs to be attached to that. Like Jacob was saying, it's expensive, $6 per user a year, and it's a little bit of a hassle to get it for free, but you can get it for free. And that's with TechSoup, as Jacob also mentioned. But yeah, so you apply through TechSoup, and it's different for every state, but you need at least, for California, you need at least 3 directors on a board. You need to have regular meetings. You need to take minutes, register as a nonprofit, pay a fee, adopt bylaws, and have a special tax number for it. And that's paperwork that I need to keep up every year, and also consider anonymity because someone's full name needs to be on that paperwork. So I did want to show you the admin panel and how I like to set up accounts when I first start a Workspace account. And yeah, so we'll start with organizing apps, and we'll go through setting the password recovery policy, adding users, setting forwarding, and if there's time, a signature. So let me move this down here. Okay, so let's just okay. Okay, so the first thing you do is log into your account that has Google Workspace on it, and go to the apps icon, which is in the top right here, Google Apps. So that's where you would get to like Google Drive or your calendar, photos, contacts, all that good stuff. But as an admin, the shortcut I like to use is this little guy here, and we can actually move these icons around to wherever we want them. And the first thing I like to do is organize the icons where I want them. So the ones that I use the most, I put at the top. So as a super admin, I would want that at the top. So you click on that. And let's see. Okay, first things first is we set a policy. It's asking for my password, which is good. Okay, and it's doing a double thing here. Just a second. Now you guys all know what kind of phone I have. Okay, so the default, this is the admin dashboard for Google Workspace. And the default settings for password recovery is to have the super admin reset your password. Personally, I don't like doing that. And what I like to do is have it so the user can reset their password on their own. So how we do that is we go to our admin console, go to security, authentication, and account recovery. So with regular Gmail, it's automatically set up where the user can reset its password based on a backup email or phone number. With Google Workspace, that's a extra step. But I think it's worth it because otherwise you would be the person in charge of resetting emails for everyone. And, that happens a lot, forgetting passwords. So, and then also when you first log in, it's going to look like this, and you're like, where's security? And then it's like, oh, you got to show more. So we'll go to security, and I already forgot authentication and account recovery right here. So user account recovery is the second option. Users and non-super admins can recover their account if they forget their password. Default is off. We want to change that to allow users and non-super admins to recover their account on their own, and save. So now that that's out of the way, we can add a user, and we'll go to directory, users, and add new user. So let's just say Jerry. And we'll protect their anonymity and just use their last initial. It's like when you're setting up users, ask them for their personal email account or a separate email account where you can add here so that they'll get the login link, and that will also be their recovery email. And immediately we'll start charging you $6 a month for that new user. So let me go back. Okay, also, when you add a new user, you can set an alias. And I find this useful for nonprofit groups where there's roles, like president, secretary, alternate secretary, so that when the person leaves the organization, you can take that alias and put it to their new email account. Like if you're creating an email account for every new person that comes versus taking over the new person taking over the old account. So to add an alias, we'd go to users. Okay, I want to add an alias to Michelle. We'll go to user information and add an alternate email address, aka email alias. And I added one here, secretary, at our domain name, and we would save that. So that's the email you can kind of put out there for people to send emails to, if it's like on your website or something. And it will get forwarded to Michelle, and in this example. And then say Michelle wants to be president next, or a different position on the board or in their group. Then we could change her alias to that new position name and then set the new user to the old to that other alias of secretary, so that they would get secretary emails if it was listed in a public area. Yeah, so that's useful. Oh yeah, and then next, as a person who would get a new email account, I would recommend setting up forwarding right away and setting your signature. So, but that would be done on the user level. So they would log into their new email account and go to the settings cog in the top right, see all settings, go to forwarding and add forwarding address. Once you put in the forwarding address, it'll ask for a confirmation code that you get from that email that you added there. And then you come back here to settings, stick it in there and press save, which is all the way at the bottom. That's the tricky thing about Gmail, is that it doesn't save automatically. A lot of things save automatically now, but this one does not. So yeah, the save is at the bottom, and that's useful for me because I have a ton of email accounts, but I only really check one. So I forward all the important emails to my main one. And that's especially important if you're working with newcomers and they're feeling willing to go to a meeting or they need help, or whatever capacity you're working with them. Having that forwarding to that main address, whatever address you check the most, having it go to that address, I think is useful. Right. And the signature is also in settings under general. And you would set it here. So at the very bottom. And let's go back to this. Okay, so when positions change. Okay, so I talked about setting email alias. If you don't want to do it that way, you can also do, like, when a new person comes onto the account, you can change the information on the account to match the new person, and then like basically it would be transferring the account to them so that they can log in, and there's a little trick to doing that. And yeah, so what you would do when the new person comes on, say I wanted, let's say Jerry comes on and takes over Michelle's position as secretary. and then you can do it a couple different ways. Like if say Michelle is not reachable, say like the person who had the previous account is not reachable, for whatever reason, you can still recover it. But yeah, so let's say they're not reachable, and how would we recover their account and get into that account and have the new person use it? So you would log in as the admin, change their recovery number and email, change their password. And here's the trick here. You turn off security for 10 minutes, which is the login challenge. And then coordinate with the new person, have them log in during that 10 minutes, and then they'll be good to go. If they don't log in during that 10 minutes, they're gonna get a login error, like because they're gonna know it's not from that address, and in a security challenge, and then they'll be locked out. So let's pretend like we're doing that. Okay, so change recovery number and email. So we'll log in as the admin in the admin panel, go to Michelle. We're gonna go to user information. We're gonna update her contact information here. We're gonna go back. We're gonna go to security. Excuse me, I misspoke. This is the recovery email and phone that you want to change to the new person that's coming in. Under the user and security.
2 minute warning, Rob.
Okay, thank you. So once you add the email and phone, you scroll down a little bit more and go to this login challenge. And this is where you would turn off for 10 minutes. It only lets you do it for 10 minutes, and it disables that login challenge, and it will let you log in from any IP address that it's not normally used to, and it won't lock you out. So, but you have to coordinate with the new person to do that. And also resetting password is right here as well. So if you generate a password for them, and then share that password with the new person coming in, once they put that in, it will force them to create a password of their own, which is what we want. And then as long as they log in with this login challenge turned off for 10 minutes, then they'll be able to kind of make that count their own, and won't have any issues being locked out. So those are my favorite tips for Google Workspace admin, and I really hope this was useful to you guys, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Robin. Yeah, so one thing is someone pointed out there was an anonymity break with your last name, but I am gonna get to learn a new skill, which is how to blur that out before I release the video. So thank you everyone that let me know, because I actually wasn't thinking about that at all. But yeah, so I'm the next presenter, and I promise this is the last tech sharing session I'm gonna present at least for a while. But I picked last month's topic and this month's topic because there were things I felt like I could actually share about. And I'm gonna focus on how Area 72 is using Google Groups and share drives for more efficient communication and file sharing. But I did want to mention that what Robin was talking about with rotating the accounts is super challenging, because I don't believe Google intends for what AA does, which is the chair account gets turned over to the next person every 2 years. And so Google's security procedures do not like what we're doing. But I have I have extensive experience after this year as web servant. So if anyone ever has issues with that, reach out, because there are ways to make it easier, and Robin did a good job of going through that. So let me get timer going so I don't go way over. I'm, as I said earlier, I'm an alcoholic. My name is Jacob. I'm from Tacoma, Washington, which is District 44 and Area 72, which is Western Washington. I'm currently the Area 72 web servant, uh, which means I not only get to manage our website, but I also get to administer our Google Workspace. We do have over like 600 accounts that we have for trusted servants. Some of them aren't being currently used, but we really use Google Workspace a lot as an area. And I previously had service positions as the web servant for my local central service office. And they also have Google Workspace. So I got to first learn there. I did want to mention that there is kind of an alternative. And 2 years ago at the National AA Technology Workshop, they actually had a presentation where one person, I think it was actually James, my predecessor, Area 72 web servant, he presented on Google Workspace, and someone from a different area presented on Microsoft 365. And so there is an alternative to just using Google Workspace where you get those email accounts and all the different productivity tools. I looked at it today. If you're a 501c3, you can get up to 300 Microsoft accounts. Google Workspace, it's unlimited. I don't think there's a limit to how many accounts you can create. And Microsoft, you get 1 TB of cloud storage, where Google Workspace for free, you get 100 TB. So the bigger your organization is, the Microsoft might not work. But I have, like, my wife worked for a nonprofit and I was advising them and I was really pushing Google Workspace, but they love Microsoft Outlook and Microsoft Office. That's what they're used to. And so they went with that. And for that size, it really works for them. But the thing I like about Google Workspace the most as a AA web servant is that if a user is going to use Google Drive and other tools, that's amazing. But my one expectation or really hope is that they at least use the email account. Now, we can't get everyone to use their email accounts, but we try to encourage them to do it. And because they're Gmail accounts, many people have experience with that. Gmail is, I think, by far the most popular personal email account. And so if people have logged into a personal Gmail, then they have, the experience to log into their Google Workspace email. And so, yeah, but there is an alternative, Microsoft, but we're going to focus on Google Workspace. And Google Groups and shared drives are not as well known as Gmail. And in fact, shared drives are only available through Google Workspace. So even if you've used Google Drive with your Gmail account, you've not had access to what's called a shared drive. And so, yeah, I have a whole bunch of Chrome windows open. I'm going to switch back and forth as I go from one Google account to another. And I'm going to start with my web servant. So this is, let's see. Let me make sure. Can you guys see the admin console?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So,
Oh yeah. Yes.
okay, so there's admin console. This looks a little different than what Robin's default is. And I don't know if that's because some previous web servant configured it a little different. It's got all the same things. Find whatever you need just by searching, which is the nice thing about Google products. So we could just type in groups. and go straight to groups. It's also down here. And you can see we have tons of Google groups we use in Area 72. Here's one that we had for the last year's assembly, and here's one we have for this year's assembly. And you can see that their email accounts, or it looks like it, they have an email address associated with them. But they're really, you could consider them like an email distribution list. And so I want to show you one that won't have any personal email addresses in there. I have created several accounts for training and demos for a fictional District 3000. So here's two groups I have for District 3000. I have an officers group and then a committee group. And in this committee group, I've actually nested the officers. So if we look at the members here, and I know I'm going fast. I should probably slow down with all my mouse clicks, but see here, we've got the Alt DCM for District 3000, Dr. Bob, the DCM account that I'm going to show you in a minute. But there's this group here, the officers. So this officers group actually contains all 17 other District 3000 accounts. And so you can nest the groups to make a whole email system, which I'll show you what we've done with that in the area. You notice that, this District 3000 secretary here and the Alt DCM and DCM, they're added even though they're a part of this officers group. And that's because I wanted to make them managers so that they can actually add members, and I, as the super admin, I don't have to. So let me make sure I don't miss anything here. The one thing to notice is that these groups, like the officers group, is at area72aa.org. So that's that custom domain that we purchased and registered with our Google Workspace. Anyone can actually create Google groups. So my home group, we do not have Google Workspace. We just have a Gmail account that we use for my home group. And you can go in and create Google groups, but they're at googlegroups.com. And you can choose to allow your users to create their own Google groups with your domain. But I've turned that off because when I came in, the naming conventions were not being different districts were creating them naming their groups very differently. And so for using our at area72a.org domain for groups, it has to go through the web servant, and I'll create any group they want, but I'll make sure it adheres to naming conventions. So we have in Area 72 a whole lot of groups, and like I said, we nest them, and there's different access settings to the groups. So and I'll show you how they actually work in just a minute if you're wondering what this actually looks like in use. But here's this committee group, and you can see that anyone can contact the group owners, but only group members and managers and owners can actually see the conversation. I have allowed the entire organization. So if someone from another district that has an at area72a.org account wants to email District 3000's committee, I do allow that. But only the members can view in the Google Groups app the conversations, and actually this is for who can view the members, see who's a part of the group. And for real districts, I actually turn this off so only managers, because there's personal email accounts in these, and so I didn't want everyone to be able to see them. But for this demo one, that's not set. And we have a committee Google group. And the area committee for Area 72 is all the DCMs, all the appointeds, all the elected officers, as well as past delegates. They're not voting members, but they're considered part of the committee. And you see there's 9 direct members, and that's just all those different Google groups that I've added to make this super group. If we look here, it's composed of these different groups. So I've made a composite group. And the settings here is we don't want anyone with an Area 72 email to email this list, because it would just get spammed too much. So you got to go through your DCM or your standing committee chair if you want to send something to the entire committee. So only group members can post. And so I just wanted to show you how you can kind of change the access settings to limit who can use the group. And yeah, the last one is we have an all members one, which literally includes everyone from every group. And we've set it so only the elected officers, which is the one group in here, only they can send to it. And for everyone else, it's just an email distribution list. And I'm running low on time, so I'm going to go quickly through this last bit. I'm going to stop sharing this window, and I'm going to do this one, I think is it. So now you should be seeing, this is the account for that District 3000 DCM. They are not admins of the Google Workspace, so they can't go into the admin panel like Robin did and like I just showed you. But in their apps, which I love, I never knew you could rearrange these. So that's a really great little thing. But there's this groups here. And so if you go to groups, you'll see all the groups that you're a member of. And this fictional DCM is a member of 4 groups. And the gear little buttons are the ones that they're actually a manager of. And so if we go to this committee, and I want to actually show you one thing before. We're going to add someone who's not a part of Area 72 to this group. And I want to show you, because I think this is cool. If we now go to this one. So this is just a regular Gmail account. I assume you guys see just a folder that says Doc H Traditions. So if you look in the left here, there's no shared drives, and I'm running low on time, so I won't be able to go much into shared drives. But regular Gmail just has your My Drive and stuff that's shared with you. If we now go back to the DCM, so and it gets hard to find the I don't think I got the right one. I think I might have closed out the DCM one. Let me open that back up. Okay, so if we go back to our DCM account and we look, the DCM has this place here, shared drives, and there is a shared drive with the District 3000 for District 3000 to put all their district files. What's really nice about shared drives is they're not, anything you put in there is not owned by one account, it's owned by the shared drive, which if you've ever shared a whole bunch of files and collaborated with people, it can get annoying when it's owned by one person and you want to delete it. And you have to get their permission or whatever. But this is set up to automatically have shared settings for the Google group. So the committee is set to have view access. So anyone in the committee group can view this shared drive. And so we're going to add, as the last thing of my presentation, we don't want to create a new Google group. We want to go into this group here and go to members. And so this is a way different interface than in the Google Workspace admin panel, but this DCM has manager access to this group. So through the groups app, they can add a trusted servant 44@gmail.com. And I'm going to directly add them. And now, last switch over is if I go back to trusted servant. If I refresh this Google Drive now, assuming the lag, there may be a minute or two lag, but it will eventually show up. So now we have shared drives. So you can include people without that aren't having your at Area 72 or whatever your organization accounts. You can include your GSRs, anyone who wants to, you can add them to those groups. And anytime you send an email to it, it'll distribute the email to all of them, and you can use it to share documents or include them on shared drives. And I was going to show you, you don't have to actually have a Gmail account. Anyone can create a Google account associated with like a Comcast or AOL or Hotmail, so that they just get a login and password for that email they already have. And then they can go to drive.google.com and still participate. And yeah, so clearly the Area 72 setup was more than 15 minutes worth of info, but if you're interested in setting something up similar to what I've done or have questions, definitely reach out. And so our third presenter, Cheryl, is from Area 67 in Texas. And I met her at the most recent NAATW, and she was asking about Google Workspace, and she does a lot with GAM, which I'll let her tell you about. And I'm fascinated because with 44 districts, I end up doing a lot of repetitive mouse clicking if I want to change the setting to say all 47's Google groups, or all 44 districts Google groups, and GAM promises to automate that for me. So I will turn it over to Cheryl.
Hi, y'all. Thank you, Jacob. I'm going to start off with saying I hate public speaking. It makes me very nervous, so y'all are going to just have to bear with me. But I do have a presentation because I work much better from that. So I'm going to go share my screen. And that was a great presentation, Jacob, by the way. And Area 67 has set up our whole thing very, very similar to what you've done. We're managing everything with groups and just adding people to them for rights and access. So here we go. Let's find the right screen. Okay, can y'all see my screen? Okay, good. I'm going to be presenting on enhancing Google Workspace management using GAM, which is, well, come to that. Here we go. First of all, an introduction. My name is Cheryl. No last name. I'm going to be telling you about GAM. Just a little bit about me. I joined the CETA with Southeast Texas Area IT Committee in January of 2023. My current responsibilities include website support and Google Workspace administration. I joined for the website thing and didn't know about the Google Workspace administration, so that was interesting. I do have a prior IT background, pretty extensive, but I'm fairly new to Google Workspace. Last, but certainly not least, I love GAM, so I'm excited to be able to tell you all about it. So I'm going to start off with what is GAM. GAM stands for Google Apps Manager. It's basically the Swiss Army tool that administrators should have. It's a command line interface for managing Google Workspace. It leverages the Google APIs and allows us to do bulk operations. It's written in Python and it is open source code. A brief history about GAM. It was written by Jay Lee in 2009. He was working for a college and was setting up student accounts and got tired of doing it manually. So he addressed that by creating GAM. Over time, it's continued to grow, and in 2013, Ross Scroggs joined and started supporting GAM. And then in 2015, he actually started a whole new branch of it, GAM Advanced. And after GAM Advanced, they started adding the new APIs like for team drives and that kind of thing. So it became GAM Advanced Extended. And then they upgraded to Python 3. So hence the name GAM Advanced Extended 3, which is the version of GAM that I use. And so when I'm talking about GAM here, that's mostly what I'm going to be talking about. Both versions are still very active and they're supported by their developers and the users. Ross Scroggs, well, I see him posting in the forums on a daily basis, so he's incredibly active. I wanted to give you a couple of installation notes, not on how to. There's very detailed instructions, and the source files are all available at the link I've got on there. But there were a couple of gotchas that created a problem for me when I first tried to install GAM. The first is you have to be a super admin, which at that point I was not. So once I worked through that and convinced my team that it was okay to make me a super admin, then I still couldn't install it. And the reason is not only did you have to be a super admin, but you had to have access to the proper permissions to create an API project in the cloud. So once I got beyond that, then I was fine. The instructions actually are pretty detailed now, and the new ones I've got out actually cover all that. I've noted is GAM doesn't run just on Windows. It runs on Linux, a Mac, and the Google Cloud Shell as well. I'm trying not to talk too fast here. Okay, what can you use GAM for? Well, it can be used for almost any admin task that you can do in the admin panel. You can do with GAM. You can create and modify and delete users or groups. You can manage group memberships. You can update user information, their fields, and their privileges. You can manage resources like calendars and team drives. You can retrieve extensive reporting data and more. But we have to give you a word of caution here. GAM is incredibly powerful, and there are some things you have to be aware of. If you don't know, if you're not very careful with what you're doing and you do something without checking it out, you could do a lot of damage. It's Stanley, with great power comes great responsibility. So it's important if you're going to use GAM that you actually learn, understand all the permissions, and understand what that command is going to do before you execute it. And there is a learning curve. It does take some time and some effort to get good at it. I will say that AI has helped me tremendously, and I encourage that. ChatGPT is great at giving me the syntax. Just make sure you verify that you understand how that command works before you execute it. And of course, it's dependent upon a consistent API structure, which those of you that do Google Workspace Admin have probably experienced. Google keeps improving and adding and changing. And for GAM to work, the developers have to consistently keep updating to keep up with those changes. Since I've been using it, they've been really great about doing that. Literally within days of a new feature, they'll have it in there. So why do you use GAM? Why not just use the admin panel? Well, part of what Jacob was talking about, automation. If you're doing the same things over and over and over again, it really simplifies it and it'll save you a lot of time. And it can also reduce data entries and help maintain setup configurations. And what I mean by that is, an example is in my area, we chose to record the user's home group in the department field. And then we chose to record the user's district in the cost center. Well, when I first took this over and was trying to set those up, I kept reversing those fields, where I'd forget which is which and have to go look it up, or I'd forget to do it all together. With GAM, because I've now got it automated, I don't have to think about that. We're just it's reading the information from a file and it knows where to put it, and so it saves the time and the energy. Um, there's also the ability to do bulk operations. This is something Jacob was talking about. This is where can y'all hear me? My headphone just beeped. I think it's about to run out of power here. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Sorry. Anyway, it'll save a lot of time. You can do things like, well, Matt, like if you have to create 100 user accounts, you can do it with GAM and a CSV input file and do it in a very quick period of time. And I'll show you something about that here in just a minute. You can also do much better reporting. Reporting is what got me interested in the first place. We had a project when I joined our team. They had just finished the Google implementation, and they had a bunch of drives that were supposed to have a standard configuration had been set up by multiple people. So they wanted to go through and hand out a list of drives to break it out and hand it out to different people and have us go through and look at each one, look at all the permissions and at the group members and make sure everything was configured correctly. And I'm not much on wanting to go do that manually, and I've done some scripting before, so I knew it could be done. So I used GAM to go and retrieve all the data for all the permissions and all the shared drives, and then I put it in a spreadsheet, and then I used Access to go even further. But I was able to pull all the data in one place, so we didn't have to go look at each one. We were able to look at a report and tell how every piece of Access data that we needed was right there. And you can't do that from the admin path. Also, there are some extended capabilities here. There are a couple of fields. For example, the profile name and the Gmail display name are two big ones. When we set up our accounts at SIA, they set them up correctly with the first name and last initial. However, in the account itself, we have full names because we need to know who's using that account. We as admins, but we don't need the whole world to know, just the administrative staff needs to know. However, Google defaults to full name, first and last as that name field. And the crew wasn't aware of that when those got set up. So that's recently come to light, and there was a lot of problems with that. So I'm going to go into this more here in just a minute. I'm trying not to run out of time. Did I set my timer? Nope, I didn't even start my timer. So Jacob, I hope you're keeping track of it. Okay. There's also other tasks that you can do that you can't do from an admin console. This is not something I would normally do. However, having been in IT in the past, I know that there's times that something can get sent out in an email that is totally, completely inappropriate. I mean, not that's possibly criminal or possibly just totally wrong. With GAM, you do have the ability, the power that you have to use responsibly to go and remove that email from everybody's mailbox or from one selected user's mailbox. Okay. And here's some real life examples. In Area 67, this is how we create a new user. When I first started doing this, we were doing it with console. Now we do it all with a batch file. So basically, it's a 3-step process. We copy info that we've gotten from the new user account request, which is a Google form. It writes to a backend file, and from that, we extract a line of data and put it in CSV file. I then open a command window and I run a batch file. I pass the district number, and that's it. And it creates the entire user, and then I have to go through and add any additional other than standard group memberships. And here's the flow for that. The information comes in over here on the Google form. It writes to the backend response sheet. From there, I cut and paste it into a CSV file, and then I run the batch file. The batch file simply takes that and executes these sets of commands you see up here. Because we're going to run out of time, I won't go into detail. But basically, the first box is the GAM command that's being executed. The second box is what it's actually doing. And as you can see, that very first, that one line creates the user account and enters most of the information in there for it. Again, I'm not giving it any more of this. This has all been cut and pasted straight out of the spreadsheet from where the Google account or the Google form new user request was made from. The second set of lines, just go and add the users to the appropriate groups in our area. We have some standard groups. We have district groups where we give them rights to read only rights to their district drive. We also have a C to announce, which is what Jacob was talking about it by an area wide announcement. So all users get added to these groups. I don't have to remember to them. The batch file does. And the third line, this is the important one. It sets that display name. So it's not the entire username, the full first and last. Instead, it is the first name and last initial. This is important because you cannot do this anywhere in the admin console. The user has to do it. And users aren't always good about doing what they need to do. And so I can do it from the GAM command line and it's done. Okay. Deep breath here. Continue on. My next example here is bulk updates. Remember what I just said about first name, last name? Well, we had 587 accounts that had full names showing up in them. And it was a problem because when you send an email from your Gmail account, it shows the sender name, the display name you got set and it was showing the full name. So when they sent something out, it had their full name, and our domain name is aa-ceta.org. So it was pretty obvious what it was. So that was an issue, especially if they were sending out to the general public. So we needed to process the accounts. I broke it into 2 sessions because I had not done a bulk update. The first one was we have 170 accounts that have not been logged into. So I did those first, figuring if I was going to mess something up, I'd rather mess it up there and not in live accounts or active accounts. It went fine. So I did the second batch. The second batch had 379 accounts in it. And I did the entire process in 16 and a half minutes. And when I say that, here's the process. I spent 30 seconds. I ran a command that extracted all the user data I needed and dumped it to a CSV file. Then I spent another 10 minutes opening the file, formatting it, filtering it, and having it create the right display name for me. And then I saved that as a CSV file. After that, I ran the GAM command. There are 2 of them. One to update the profile display name and one to update the Gmail sender's name. And then I spent another 2 minutes. I went and I reran the original report that I'd gotten just to verify the changes had actually been made. So my total project time to update 2 fields, one in the profile name and one in the Gmail account itself, for 379 accounts, and it took 16 and a half minutes. So I thought that was pretty good.
And Cheryl, a 2-minute warning.
Okay, I'm almost done, sir. We're good. This is just a screen output. This is what it looked like when I ran it. I kept it so that I could show you the time. This is a list of some resources that I have found invaluable for GAM. When I started this, I had no idea what GAM even was. So they have some great tools and a lot of information. And in summary, I think GAM is a great tool for admins, and I think we all need that. Yeah. How was that? I'm early, huh?
Yeah, perfect timing. Well, thank you, Cheryl, and thank you all of our presenters. And yeah, let me find my format. I have way too many windows open in my computer right now. But all right, so yeah, so we're gonna move into our questions and sharing. If you have a question on the topic or you'd like to share like your own experience on the topic, please raise your virtual hand under reactions. And if we can keep the shares to 3 minutes or less, and I'll just give you a gentle reminder when you're at 3 minutes to wrap up. And Sherry, go ahead. You're still muted.
Of course I am. Hi, everybody. I'm Sherry. I'm from Area 39 in Western Missouri. So how do you accommodate people who don't or won't do Google? Like, I have blocks. I don't do Gmail. I don't do Google. And if you get a committee chair that doesn't want Google on their computers or their systems, how do you accommodate that? Or is having Google and a Gmail account now a requirement to serve?
So I'm curious if Robin or Cheryl have run into this.
Hi, Robin.
We
Hi, Cheryl.
we have in Area 72 one trusted servant that currently I think they're like their district's young person committee chair, and they do not use Google, and so you can set it up to forward all the emails to their personal account. And but yeah, there's certain things like if you're not going to access Google Drive at all, like and your district uses a shared drive, I don't know the solution. And yeah, I'm not sure how because certainly there are some people who are making that decision not to use any Google products. And I don't if I don't know the solution if your area has embraced Google the way ours has. Um, before we go on to Lois, does anyone have any insight in that question? Because I'm very interested if anyone has experience with that.
Yeah.
Robin. Go ahead.
I might too, Jacob.
Robin and alcohol. Thanks, Sherry, for your question. I think should go back to the beginning, like when you're deciding whether or not to use Google for your group, to kind of take a survey of your group and see what everyone's thoughts are and weigh it that way. But I hear what you're saying, like if people join the group later and you've already set up Google, they would be kind of like locked out from it. They wouldn't be able to access the drive files. You need a Google account to access the important files. So yeah, I'm not sure what the answer is either. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robin. Lois, go ahead.
I mean, I
Hey,
guess,
Lois.
hey, Sherry. I mean, we of course don't require them to have a Google Gmail. They can keep their personal email accounts, right? And then forward to we can set up a forward for them, right? So they can at least get emails from the area. They don't have to log in if you know what I mean? They don't have to ever log in. We can set it up for them and forward to them. I mean, if a trusted servant doesn't have email at all, then it's pretty hard to participate these days in AA service. I mean, there might be a way to set it up and text them. I don't know. But that's what I would say. And I am just going to take my minute of time to say to all of you guys how excited I am. Especially Cheryl, I love the time. I love the time that you saved. Think of when I first got involved with doing tech and AA, it was because of that. Think of all the time that can now be directed towards serving alcoholics and really carrying the message, right? Anyway, kudos to all of you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Lois. And well, I see Cheryl put her hand down, so I don't know if you wanted to answer the question as well.
Well, basically, I think Lois said what I was going to say is if they don't want to participate, then we have the problem. We don't have a problem with people that don't want Google. We have problems with some of our especially some of our Spanish communities don't want to use the computer at all. And we do what we can to accommodate them. But the reality of today's world is you have to have some access. For those who just don't want to use Google, we just set up 40.
So, I mean, I guess my concern is that, and it's for AA as a whole, not a specific group or district or anything, but uh, that having a Google account and Google Access is becoming a requirement to serve. Like, if you can't get the shared documents, if you can't read the collaboration, if it's all done on Google and you can't get there, you know, one of the things that I've always seen in AA is that it doesn't matter whether you have a Mac or a PC or a Linux box or what browser you use or what your personal email is. And with the proliferation of Google into our areas and our services, I see that going away. And you know, all kinds of shades of affiliation, endorsement, all of that stuff seems to be happening for AA as a whole with this. And that
But you
concerns
can
me.
add, but Sherry, you can add non-Google emails to a shared drive too. So
Well,
if the person, either the person doesn't have a Google email account at all.
well, the situation though is that Sherry's describing is this person, their computer will not connect to Google services, I believe. Like it's just set up so that, you know, if any Google service tries to load in their web browser, it's not going to load. And so the forwarding of emails, I think, would solve the email situation. But if you're collaborating in Google Docs or using drives, it is an issue. My one thought is, you know, if it's a anonymity, like data issue, like you don't want Google to have any of your data, or security concerns, I don't know, but maybe there is a way through a virtual machine or VPN. I'm not an expert on any of this, but maybe there's a way those people could still access the shared drive and protect Google from having any data. But yeah, I think this is an interesting conversation because clearly um, there are some people out there who stay away from Google completely, and I don't think that should be a disqualification to doing area service or AA service in general. So yeah, it's an interesting question. Um, Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, just kind of like on the same thing. You know, it was mentioned that in past NAATWs, it's actually happened a couple of them. Like, seems like half the room used Google Workspace, half the room used Microsoft Office 365. What do you do if someone doesn't use Microsoft Office 365? It's really the same thing. You got to make a choice with what you go with, and then you go. I know some people who don't like Microsoft, and so they use different operating systems and different programs, you know, to open project or whatever else, so they don't have to use a Microsoft thing. No matter what you pick, there can be someone there. You know, it's going to happen. Um, and the archivist in our area still uses a flip phone. So he doesn't have a smartphone. So, you know, the only time he can get an email is when he's sitting at his computer at home. So like, yeah, you can't even really get hold of him. So I to a point that there is no answer because no matter what you pick, someone could be against it. So you just do the best that you can. I will say one of the things that I remember from NAATW before is with Office 365, you had to make sure that X% of people were logged in within a certain time frame so that you could keep your nonprofit status and the money that was cheaper. So that I think that's another advantage that Google Workspace has. But there are a lot of people at NAATW who use Microsoft Office for their email and their admin purposes and are quite happy with it.
Thank you, Fred. Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Gary Alcoholic from up here in the frozen wasteland of Manitoba, Canada. I had a quick question for Robin. You demonstrated the use of the secondary email. Is that the same as a recovery email, or does it have a completely separate use? Or yeah, I've been struggling with that because when I've been setting up new users, some of them I just set up with the secondary, and some of them I set up with both because I'm hoping to find out what the difference is in the fullness of time.
Thanks, Gary. They're different. The recovery email is the one you would use to recover your password if you forgot your password. And then you try to log in and say, forgot my password, and you click on that. And then it sends an email to whatever one you set as the recovery email and gives you a code, and then you put in the code, and then you're back in your account and you can reset your password. The alternate email, not sure what that's for. It can be used for like when you first log in or when you first create an account, like a copy of the password would go to that, like your initial password might go there. Also like in your about, like in your information, it would be listed under there. Hope that helps.
Okay, thanks. And a quick question also for Jacob. You seem to make it look easy to include non-Google Workspace and non-Gmail addresses into groups. I've been struggling with that because I've had some success. Sometimes I seem to be able to put email from a completely separate domain, nothing to do with Gmail or Google Workspace. And then other times it just rejects it out of hand and I don't get a message. So I don't know if the email has to be known as somewhere in the Workspace contacts or somehow associated with the Workspace user in order to get the non-Workspace email address included.
So there's a setting where you have to specifically allow external email accounts. And if I can screen share real quick, I'll just show you where to find it. So here, let me go to that demo one. So yeah, the access type, if you go to the access settings, down here, there's allow members outside your organization, and that has to be yes. And if it's not, then you'll run into that issue. And you can in the admin settings, you can choose whether group managers can change that or not. And I do allow our group managers to change that themselves. But yeah, as super admin, you'd go into the access settings and then scroll down to the bottom, allow members outside your organization. Yes. So
that's set for each group as either as you create the group or you can modify it later.
Yes, I had to go and modify it later with 44 district committees, and that's where I'm like, oh man, I wish I had learned GAM. But yes, I think when you create it, there may be an option to set it while you create it. I can't remember.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks.
You're welcome. Gary, go ahead.
Hey everyone, Gary Alcoholic. Be real brief. So I am like an anti-Microsoft person, even though I use it for my day job. But so I run Linux myself, and there are alternatives to using the corporate platforms. You know, there's some open source solutions, but they're a hassle to set up. And I'm a huge GAM. I love GAM. That was a great presentation, Cheryl. I think that, you know, it's a small price to pay, whatever, to get a Google account. But you know, I certainly understand the opinions too, and the but there are alternatives, but it takes some knowledge and know how to set them up, and you'd have to self-host on your own server. And so, just so you know, to make it clear, there are alternatives out there, but it takes some know-how to make it happen. That's all I got.
Thank you, Gary. So one thing is, in the chat, there's a save the date for the next National AA Technology Workshop, which is, let's see, it's September 13th through 15th in St. Louis. And the like we're this entity we're now participating in the tech sharing sessions, it's independent of the NAATW, but we all overlap. Many of us attend, and the idea came from there, and so I definitely want to help support getting the word out. So if anyone hasn't gotten that flyer, download it, and I'll actually throw it in the folder of all today's materials as well. The other organization that we're all participating in as well is the Technology and AA Forum. And after the last session, someone made the suggestion that we announce, if you have ideas or discussions that we're not going to finish today, let's continue them in the Technology and AA Forum. And so I think that idea of how do we is using Google a requirement to be an AA service would be something great to post on the TIAA forum and get more people's perspectives. So yeah, while there was a lull and no one was raising their hands, I thought I'd mention those things. Leslie, go ahead.
Yes, hi. Leslie, alcoholic, Area 34, Western Michigan. I'm wondering if anybody's gotten a actual flyer, not save the date or when that's coming out, so we could get financials on, so we could submit to our areas that we want to go. Because I already have, and they've agreed, but we don't have any specifics on hotel or registration or anything of that like that. Anybody know?
Christina's on.
Yeah.
Hi, Christina, alcoholic, part of the NAATW steering committee. We should have that out in the next 3 or 4 weeks. We're just finishing up the budget and what the price for attendance will be. The hotel's already secured, the dates are secured. So just keep going to our website page, naatw.org, and we're going to get that to you as soon as we possibly can.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina. And great question, Leslie. Robin, go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Robin. I'm alcoholic. Jacob, I was just wanting to know what you like to use Google Groups for. Maybe you mentioned it, but I just wanted to hear in more detail, what you like about it for AA and what you find it useful for. Thanks.
Well, sure. Yeah. The most important thing is it's an email distribution list, because we had these set up for the standing committees in Area 72, but we didn't have them set up for the districts. And so I spent a lot of time creating them. And I know a lot of DCMs who have all their GSR emails in a spreadsheet, and every time they want to email their committee, they have to copy and paste them. And if they don't remember to BCC them, then everyone sees the emails. And so just organizing all the emails in a Google group, you create this really nice email distribution list, and you can change the access settings in case you don't want everyone to be able to utilize it. You want them to be able to receive their emails, but only, say, the secretary and DCM to send to it. So you have control over that list. And then I really like that you can then, you can share files to the group and set the shared drives to be accessed through the group. So it then automates all of that. Yeah. So hopefully that answers it. But yeah, I like that you can give other people management of their group. So I set it up for them. and then I turn over the management to the DCM and secretary of the district, and they get to add all their GSRs. And people with non like workspace email accounts, so anyone with Gmail or Hotmail or anything else, every email they get from that Google group at the bottom is instructions for how to unsubscribe. So if a GSR has rotated out of service in that district, they can just unsubscribe in January and no longer get emails from that group, which is nice that is possible. Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Just a comment on that for the distribution lists. As registrar, it's very near and dear to my heart because I have to do a lot of mailings. And what was set up before I became registrar in this rotation is they used labels, Google labels. So it's great for me because I can just click on CC or BCC. I click on a label, I select all and insert. So I have a label for area officers, one for GSRs, one for DCMs. And then as the different people are created, they're given one or another of those labels. And so it makes it really easy to create tailored distribution lists. The downside is it's only useful to me. So the benefit of having the group distribution list is that as an email address that can be used by other people, either depending how you set it up, either inside or outside the organization for contacting all of the members of that group. And that's why I've started experimenting with it and why I asked you the question about including outside email addresses for example, some of our GSRs don't get choose not to have a .org email address and will only use their personal email address. So I have to be able to include them. So I think that's touched on a couple issues with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Lois, go ahead. You're still muted, Lois.
Geez, I can't believe we're still saying this like 5 years later. I was just gonna say, Gary, that one of the other benefits is, I don't know about you, but we've got that one guy that like wants to send everybody that flyer for like his group's picnic in the whole area. And so you can also limit certain that's one of the reasons why I like the Google groups. On the flip side, you should probably show other people, at least area servants, how to use what you're calling labels or what I would call my own personal mailing list. Because in our area, then we let like our area chairs create their own mailing list and they can use labels and stuff for that, which is nice for them. So sometimes that's helpful, you know. The only other thing I wanted to say is that we in our area also made a YouTube video. So with Google for Nonprofits, you get YouTube too. And we showed people how to forward their own mail to themselves if they wanted to. So this is your idea, Robin, but then plus like a little video, so we don't have to do it. But I'm very excited about the things I've learned. I did not also know you could move the thing, and can't wait to tell everyone about GAN.
Yeah, and someone in the chat mentioned they use it for non-AA stuff. I find it, and like I said, with a Gmail account, you can create them. They're just gonna say at googlegroups.com. But yeah, they're super helpful, and all yeah. We have time for anyone thoughts or one last share or question. Renee, go ahead.
Hi, Renee, alcoholic. Cheryl, I was just wondering if it was possible for you to share your presentation. Oh, you did. Never mind. I just saw it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm gonna add Robin and Cheryl's presentations to the Google Drive, which I'll put the link in the chat in just a second. Also grab all those links that were in Cheryl's presentation and add that to the link document. Yeah, so let me find my format and we'll read the last closing stuff here. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our session. And this was, I mentioned this earlier, but I think most of you probably know that we have an online forum for AA technology discussion. So if you want to continue discussion, go to the Technology and AA forum. If you've never gone on there, it is an amazing resource, and you just have to request access, and so that it's not completely public. And before we close, I've got a couple announcements. As I mentioned before, the presentations began. We're just a learning group full of people of all different levels of technology experience, from beginners to experts. And because we're a learning group, that means that everyone in here is eligible to present. You don't have to be an expert to present. Many of you did this last month. So if you already submitted this survey, you don't have to do it again. But here is a survey that you can say what topics you're interested in, and then also what topics you have some experience with that you could present at a later sharing session. Here is a survey just for today's session. So please, fill that out if you have the chance. And all the links and all the recordings and everything for as long as this service entity exists will be available through this Google Drive folder. I don't know when the recording will be ready, because I do have to go through and do some editing for anonymity reasons, but hopefully sometime tomorrow I'll have that uploaded to the Google Drive, and I'll also post it on TIAA forum. And if you aren't on the email list, I use a Google group for this. It's text sharing sessions at googlegroups.com, and only text sharing sessions at gmail.com has access to send to it, so it's a one-way thing, but you can email text sharing sessions at gmail.com, and I'll add you to that email list to get a 1-week reminder, and then afterwards a link to the recording. And you can just email me at that email address if you have any questions or want to connect about these text sharing sessions. And with that, I'm going to stop the recording.